Taking a look now at the auctions market this week, and there will be 1,166 auctions in New South Wales. Around 1,000 of those will be in Sydney. Victoria will have 1,383 auctions, about 1,300, just over that, in Melbourne. Queensland will see 383 auctions, with 121 in Brisbane. South Australia will see 233 auctions. WA will hold 24 auctions, and the ACT will have 77. We're taking a look at the most viewed auctions this week, and in New South Wales there's 142 Garden Street, North Narrabeen. It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house with, as you can see, a pretty big backyard. The price guide for that one is $1.78 million. Over in Victoria, there's 26 Cook Street, Abbotsford. It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom terrace with renovation potential, positioned right near the Yarra River. It's got a price guide of $650,000 to $700,000. At 6 Robe Street, Newmarket in Queensland, a large 5-bedroom house described as an architecturally designed haven. It's got an entertainer's kitchen with a lot of features, a media room, home office and a tranquil garden that you can see there. In South Australia at 69 Swain Avenue, Rose Park, a 4-bedroom house that's been made over architecturally from a century-old family home. It's got all the tech extras, high-end features with an outdoor entertainer's retreat, heated pool and spa, even a vertical garden wall. And 14 Higginson Street, Holt in the ACT, a spacious and sunlit house, 3 bedrooms, large backyard, hardwood flooring, filled with light. But now looking at the top listing of the week, this is 17 to 19 Arrowfield Court, Remurin in Queensland. It's a huge 8,000 square metre resort-style house. The house itself has 4 bedrooms. It's a massive enclosed rear patio, a decked pavilion, a bunch of sheds, around 800 square metres worth actually, with underground storage for all types of vehicles. It can house 52 cars or 14 trucks if you like. And it's got a 13-metre swimming pool with a huge slide for an extra fun bonus. Well, a bit of economic data out this week, including the US Fed Reserve decision to cut rates by 50 basis points and also some stronger than expected jobs numbers here at home. Well, for more on how this impacts the property market, I spoke with Paul Ryan from REA Group.
Look, it shows that the economy is still in a good place. I mean, adding 50,000 jobs or close to 50,000 jobs in a month when interest rates remain at levels that we haven't seen in more than a decade does suggest that the labour market's strong, the economy is quite strong, and does start to say that, you know, inflation is going to be difficult to get down into the target band, which is the main thing the RBA is worried about, is persistently strong labour market conditions that keep inflation high. So, I mean, you know, when you look at something like the RBA, which is obviously meeting next week, are we expecting to hear any commentary around this? Obviously, it has to flow through to housing, which we'll get to, but what are you expecting from the RBA next week? Well, we're expecting a hold, and pretty much everyone else is expecting a hold, but the commentary will be the thing to watch, is what is the RBA's read on the reasonably strong labour market data? How do they think that's going to feed through into inflation? Most people have pushed out their expectations for rate cuts into next year now. Markets, not so much. So we've got this big disconnect between what the RBA is saying, what major bank forecasters are saying, and then what the market is saying. And the market is taking a big signal from the US Fed, already cutting rates, and saying like the RBA is going to have to follow. That does have a follow-through effect though, right? I mean, if the Fed's cutting by 50 basis points and that you're getting that differential widen between Australia and the US, you do kind of need to take that into consideration, don't you? Yeah, absolutely. I think it also signals that global inflationary pressures are at a lower point than domestic inflationary pressures that are obviously the paramount concern for the RBA. But yeah, it does matter. And we saw on the upward swing in 2021 and 2022, movements by the Fed were very indicative of movements by the RBA. The RBA themselves would push back on that, I think, but it remains to be seen how that's going to affect them going forward. Okay, anecdotally, I'm seeing a lot of for sale and auction signs around. How is spring sort of selling season going so far? Look, it's spring is the big time to sell your home throughout the whole year, and that's looking to be the case this year. I think we've got 3,200 auctions nationally scheduled. That's extremely high, up 15% or so on the same weekend last year, and next week is up 50% on the same weekend last year. So yeah, we had actually an unseasonably strong winter for seller activity, and it's looking like that's translating to spring. Okay, is the RBA playing into this at all? I mean, when you look at, you know, just even the discussion around rate cuts coming and hearing the Fed cut, and, you know, just the general public hearing information about rate cuts, does this play on to confidence in the housing market? I think it does. I think there's a few things that have meant that confidence has been really strong, and the housing market's a clear way to see that, because people are making really long-term decisions, and people make long-term decisions with confidence about the future, confidence about unemployment and job market conditions, confidence about household wealth. I mean, we've seen housing prices continue to rise. That puts people in a good position spending-wise. And I think the other thing that's really not spoken about as much is really just market stability. We've had the last interest rate change we had was last November. This is the first normal year in the housing market and the economy for some time, and that really impacts people's sentiment, and it's turning into market activity.
Yeah, okay. And population growth figures, we've seen some of those come through. Does this play out at all into the property market and how it tracks?
Yeah, so population growth is a key kind of component of underlying demand, and we've seen population growth really bounce back really sharply from what were really low numbers during the pandemic to really high numbers. Lots of people that would have entered the country during the pandemic, delaying that for obvious reasons. We've seen population growth fall a bit, and part of that was unrelated to policy. That's just a natural recovery. But it does have an impact, particularly in the rental market. That's where we see, lots of people entering the country at the same time, looking for the same stock of rentals, has a big impact on that market. Over the long term, though, what we need this balanced position where we're building enough homes to match the population growth that we have. And we were doing that before the pandemic, and due to a lot of the constraints that were introduced through the pandemic and difficulties in the construction sector, that has been the big issue in the housing market over the past couple of years.
So much to talk about, so little time. Paul Ryan, appreciate your time on the program. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.